Okay, so we said that there are different types of data structures. The most simple one is a vector, and we know that a vector consists of uh, elements of the same type. So if pwedeng a logical vector, which means all the elements there are all logical values, it can be character, etc. Now, I think I failed to discuss another type of character variable, which is very important as far as we're concerned. So here, let's create an object. Let's call it just Z, for example, alt minus, and let's concatenate. Let's see, F, then another F, then let's see an M, then an M, then another M. This is an example, guys. Okay, so this is our vector. It's a vector of, you guessed it right, guys. It's a character vector. Okay, let's print this. Let's print this and then get the class. So if we print this and get the class, okay. So we have here the elements of this vector Z, F, F, M, M, M. Okay. Now sometimes you might need to convert a character vector into a factor. What is a factor? A factor is a type of character vector that's used for classification. So let's assume this is the gender. 5 respondents to a questionnaire, and then they were asked what their gender was, and their responses were female, female, male, male, male. Now, especially later on when we do samples of data analysis, this may be used in order to classify those particular responses and not just treat them as a character. So as I mentioned a while ago, a factor is a type of a character variable but has a special function to it. It's used for classification. So let's do that. Let's create this Z1, okay? Z1, and let's convert as factor. Let's convert our Z object, okay? And then let's get the class of Z1. Let's print this. Okay, so what are we doing here? We're creating an object called Z1, and then we're converting the Z object, which is a character vector, into a factor. So let's print it and let's get the class. Okay, now take a look at this. The character vector has been converted into what we call factor. It's now F, F, M, M, M. It's no longer a vector of characters where you have the quotes, no? And then where do we use this? We use this later on for modeling like regression. Okay, you might be interested in seeing the effect of a particular variable on female or male respondents. Okay, so just remember, guys, that a factor is, well, it's a special type of character, but the use of factor is very apparent, especially when we go to statistical analysis. Kasi ito guys, character lang to, no? Okay. If you take a look at yung mga characters na to, a specified character, ito guys, tignan nyo, no? May level siya na sinabi, no? So this tells us that there are two classifications here, an F and an M. Okay? So, and they're classified as factors. Okay, this will become more clear, guys, when we have examples of modeling or statistical analysis. Okay, so let's now go to the next type of data structure, and it's a list. Okay, so what distinguishes a list from a vector? As we know, a vector contains just one data type. On the other hand, a list can contain different types of different classes or types of data. So here we're creating an object called myList, okay, and then we use this function list in order to generate this data structure called list. So here we have a numeric data, numeric also, an integer, and then here we have, this is a vector of characters, right? So we know that a list may contain also a vector of any type of vector. So here we have a character and here we have a logical. So if we did not use the list function, okay, if we just concatenated this, it will still be run, but however, remember, it will be coerced into the higher type of data, which is a character. So this will be all converted into character. But here, it will accept whatever data type we put in here because we're using the function list. And we know that a list is a data structure that can accept any type of data. Okay, so let's run this. Okay, here. So we have here some, it defines this is the first element of your list, second element, third element. Okay, and then here you have the fourth element of your list, which is a vector of characters. Okay, so this is your list, okay, my list. In fact, if you take a look at the environment, if it's a vector, guys, it will only be indicated here in the values. If it's a data frame or a list, it will be indicated here in your data. So you see in the environment, there are two types here, data and then values. Okay, data are for either data frames or for lists. Values naman are for vectors. Okay, so we'll have more examples of lists later on when we, for example, when we do regression, we will notice that when R outputs the results of regression, it will contain lists of objects, and we're going to look into that in the future. Okay, and then here, guys, a list can contain a list and vectors. So this one, this is again, we're creating a list, and it contains my list. Take note that my list is a list, right? My list, and then this is a vector. Hello is a vector of 1. False is also a vector, actually. So these are also vectors. So let's run this, the first one. Okay, and you can see here the subsetting. Okay, so we will not go, in the meantime, we will not discuss yet so much what this number means, but these are just subsets. It indicates the position of the element of your list. Okay, for example, itong 1 na to, what does that mean? So this is the first element in your list. Okay, tapos, what do we find here? First element in your list, and then 1, the first one, okay? 1 sinabset siya, and then 1, 2, 1, 3, because your list contains several elements. Diba? Ano ba yung laman ng my list natin? Ito yun. This one. Okay, so it just tells us the position of this particular elements of your list. Okay, there's another one here, but days, did we? Yeah, I think we ran days last time, but I already deleted that. So let me just run this days. Okay, so here it's also a vector. Okay, and then here I'm listing, again, this is a vector of days. This is another vector. So these are all vectors, and we can do that. So this is your vector of character vector, okay, etc. Okay, any questions, guys, as far as list is concerned? Lang guys, let me just may banging kasi sa kapitbahay ng construction bit. Okay, so let me see. Okay, thank you guys for the feedback. No questions so far. All right. Okay, so we know the difference between a vector and a list. Okay, this is another example. Guys, it's a list of, this is a vector of, this is an integer vector. This is a character vector, and you find here, guys, a function. Okay, object C is a function. Okay, we haven't met yet but this is also an object. If an object can be a formula, can be a function. So here we have function of x, and it's equal to x times sine x. So if you provide values to x, then it will carry out the function. For example, 3 times sine 3, okay, it will perform that. But this is just meant to tell us that you can include a function in a list. So let's run this. It's my list, it's small l, okay, here. So here we have the object A, it's an integer vector. We have the object B is equal to character, and object C is equal to the function. Okay. So as mentioned here, my list contains 3 things, A, B, C. Okay. And then one has object C is a function. Okay, if we ask guys, ano yung type of ng object na my list? Let's run this. Okay, so it's a list. Okay, and the length of my list is, it's 3. Why is it 3? Because there are 3 elements in our list here. Diba? Ito yung vector A, vector, character vector B, and a function C. So there are 3 elements there in our list. Now, can we, what does this mean? Remember last time, guys, we discussed that these brackets indicate that we're getting we're subsetting it, getting the first element. So the first element in the object my list is A. Okay. Now, can we do some math on this? Okay, error, we cannot do a math on this because, guys, our object my list contains different types of objects. Okay, it's a vector. Although, for example, if it's only this object 1, 2, 3 lang, yung vector na to, pwede sana. Kaso, okay, what we're asking R to do is to add 1, okay, to all, okay, my list kahit 1 plus 1, we cannot do that, no? All right. Any questions, guys? Okay, so this one, guys, we have done this before. So yung set that seed, we know that it's used to make sure that we generate the same random numbers. So some of these, guys, we will no longer run because we have already done this in the past. Okay, maybe just, sige, let's set that seed, and then let's maybe run up to this one. Okay, we can highlight that and control enter. So we should have the same values, guys. We're running, we're generating 1,000 observations with the mean equal to 450 and standard deviation is equal to 10. So let's take a look at, let me rerun this, just this. By the way, guys, did you generate the same values? 456.607.7. I hope I don't sound like a broken record, but I just want to emphasize the use of set.c. Feedback, please, guys, if you generated the same values. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Sana iba guys mag-response din. Okay, and then I'll take a look at the results na nandito sa console na lang. Okay, the mean is 449.78. Okay, thank you for your responses. Appreciate it. And then the median is 450.257, which tells us that for all intents and purposes, this distribution, this data is normally distributed kasi malapit yung mean at saka yung median. Remember guys, kapag technically sa normal distribution, yung mean and median are equal. And they're practically the same. They're very close to each other. Had we drawn a larger sample, kasi 1,000 lang to, pag linakihan pa natin yung sample natin, they will really almost converge. Minimum value, maximum value, we can add them, can get the standard deviation, and the class is numeric and the length is 1,000. So those things we know already, guys, by virtue of our past lessons. Then you can also get return a value for each of the components. We know that my values is a vector, is a numeric vector of 1,000. Let's suppose we get the log of my values. Okay, you can see here that we get the logarithm of each of the elements of my values. Okay, the last is 6.11548, which is the log of that number, that last number. Okay, it's worth mentioning, guys, that when we do log in R, the base that's used is the exponential. Okay, if you recall, guys, I'm not sure if I discussed this with you. exp1. Okay, so this is the number E. Okay, 2.718. This is the base that's used in log. So let me let me just show that log ng my values base is equal to exp1. So the base used in performing logarithm in R is e to the 1, the number e. Run this, 6.11, it's the same, no? It's the same as the one above. And that just goes to show that indeed, ang ginamit na, pag log ang ginagamit natin, ang base na ginagamit is e. Now, if you want to use base 10, then you should do this. Log of my values, base is equal to 10. This is base 10. Ito yung, usually ito yung natutunan natin nung high school or nung elementary. And you notice that it has a different value. Okay? Question, guys? Pause muna ako. And then I'd like to get feedback from you. Clear so far? Saan ginagamit yung log, guys? Later on, when we go to regression, we're going to make use of that. It's used to scale your values. Say, for example, you're dealing with macroeconomic values, kunwari GDP, GNP, malalaki yun, in billions yun. No? Tapos it's more difficult to work with that kind of a data. So what's done is sometimes to get the log of those values and mas scale yung mga values na. Okay, so Ito lang yung nag-feedback. I hope the others are able to follow. Now, what we did a while ago, yung log my values, is the same as this one. Okay, log 10. It's the same lang to as log of my values. The base is equal to 10. Okay, they're the same. You can just use log 10. Okay, so I won't run that anymore, but you can try, of course. Then here, we can get also the square root of the values in my values. Okay, so pwedeng, ang gagawin niyan, kukunin yung square root ng bawat isa. Okay, so I won't run that anymore. So, we learned this already in the past, itong pagkuha ng histogram, plot. So let's see. Let's generate all these three plots. So we have here the box plot. You can see here some outliers dito. And then you have here the scatter plot. And then this is your histogram. And it does look like a normally distributed vector. Okay, so the third type of data structure that we want to learn is the data frame. Okay, this for us is one of the most important data frame in this subject. So what's a data frame? A data frame is a table or two-dimensional array-like structure. So meron siyang rows, meron siyang columns. Okay, ang vector, guys, it's just a unitary row or column, however you want to position your vector. Pati yung list, no? Isang dimension lang. Ang data frame, it's a two-dimensional array-like structure. So there are certain requirements for an object to be considered a data frame. Number one, the column names should be non-empty. Ibig sabihin, dapat yung column may pangalan. No? It should have a name. Then the row names should be unique. Okay, the data can be numeric, factor, or character type. So the data can be of any type. Parang list siya. No? Pwedeng numeric, pwedeng logical, pwedeng factor, pwedeng imaginary number. Okay. And each column should contain the same number of data items. What do we mean? So if we have 3 columns, dapat each column should have, let's say, 50 observations. Dapat pare-pareho. Hindi pa pwedeng isa 50 tapos isa 60 observations. Okay, let's have our first example of a data frame. This is a very simple example. You have here a vector called n, and it consists of this a numeric vector 235. Si S naman, character vector. Si B, logical vector. Diba? So different data types to. Okay, and we have here three vectors. So we can combine them into one data frame. So here I'm using this object df, and the function that we're using is data.frame, and then we are combining n, s, and b to become a data frame. So let's run this code chunk. All right, so this is your n, this is your s, and this is your b. And then our df is, take a look at our df, our data frame. Yeah, okay. So it consists of 3 columns, 3 rows, and then each column has a name. Yung N, 235, yung S, AA, B, C, C, and then yung B, 2, false 2. Okay, this is a data frame, okay? And most data that we're going to use come in the form of a data frame. Okay, so any questions, guys, about a data frame? None so far? Okay. All right, we'll have another example, guys. Okay, so we're creating in this object employee.data. Okay, and then here is the function data.frame. So this will combine everything and make it a data frame. All right, data.frame, and then first element is employee ID, and we're using the run if function. How many elements? 10 between 1,000 and 9,999. Okay, if you recall guys, yung run if mag-generate yan, ano? It will generate numeric variables, no? In this case 10. So let's just test this. Control C, copy natin. Let's just see what this as a way of review, guys. Diba? Yan, no? May decimal place. Okay? Let's do away first with the kasi ID siya, no? So medyo parang hindi yata tama na ID natin yung decimal place. But let's leave that for a while now. Ang objective lang natin, guys, makagawa ng data frame. By the way, let me check. Control C. If I want to round, tanggalin ko yung decimal. Okay, we can use the round function, and then ilang decimal place? 0. Just run this. Yeah. Okay. We could have used that if we want. Walang decimal place, we can use the round. Why don't we do that, guys? Sige, ipasok natin yung round dito. Round, para yung ID kasi, round, tapos ito yung numbers, and then comma, ilalagay natin yung ilang digits. Yan. And then another comma. Run if, okay, correct. Okay. Thank you. Gab, thank you. All right. So ito guys, ito I just showed you guys kasi yung run if, alam natin na this will generate random numbers. Kaso yung decimal places. By the way, if you want to generate the same as usual, guys, no? Set that seed tayo para pare-pareho tayo ng number. Set that seed, okay, say 999. Okay. Alright, para yung, kasi may tayo dito, di ba, may random tayo. Para sa random numbers, pare-pareho tayo. Yung iba, wala namang randoms to, so pare-pareho pa rin tayo dito sa ibang object. Okay? So, before we run this, so yung employee ID, meron tayong run if, no? 10 numbers yan from 1,000 to 999, tapos we rounded it off na walang decimal place. Then we have this next object, which is employee name. Okay, ito yung sinasabi ko sa inyo guys na it's better to use the assignment operator, yung less than minus, kasi pwedeng inside your code may mga equal to pa. No? So this will distinguish between the name and the equal to. Kasi sometimes nagkakaproblema kung ito equal to din, tapos ito equal to yung iba. Alright, employee name, so these are character variables. Tapos salary, yan, binigay sa ating salary. This is a numeric variable. Start date, okay, take note of this. Start date is equal to as.date. Okay, and then C. So these are character variables talaga, no? Character to. Character data type to. Character vector to. But when we impose this function as.date, R will read this as date, no? Kung kailan nagsimula yung employee. Okay, and then strings as factors is equal to false. Ano to? Remember guys, yung factors, pag may mga factors dito tapos pwede siyang gawing classifier, then we can write strings as factors is equal to true. But what are the character variables here? Yung employee name lang naman. And can we use this as a classifier? Okay, ano ika-classify niyan? Kunyari, may isa pang Dan na may first name na Dan. So, ika-classify natin by all Dans, by all Ricks. No, hindi naman natin ginagawa yun. Sabi natin, ang classifier, ang factor, for example, gender, o nationality, yan. Or ano pa, region, kung saan province galing. Okay, these are the things that we use as a classifier. Okay, pero itong mga names, we don't do that. Kaya dito nakalagay strings as factors is equal to false. Pero yung default naman siya actually default, is actually equal to false. Kaya actually medyo redundant na to. No? Okay, but anyway, pinakita ko lang yan. Okay, so let's run this together. Okay, ipiprint na niya, kasi naka-open and close parenthesis na, ipiprint niya yung data frame na employee.data. So let's run this. Did I miss out something here? Wala na. Okay, so let's run this code chunk. Okay, there. You can see here, guys, pati sa ilalim, no? Ito yung result. Okay, this is a data frame. Ito yung data frame. Ito yung ID ng employee. Una-una, 10 sila, no? 10 observations, employee ID. So each of the column has a name. Okay, hindi pa pwedeng walang name. Okay, tapos employee ID, employee name, salary, start date. Okay, and then we can get the summary. Yan natin summary ng employee.data. Just the name. Yan, employee.data. 10 observations of 4 variables. And you notice, guys, yung employee.data natin, it's in the data. Okay? Kasi data frame yan, kaya dito sa ilalim ng data and not under the values. Okay, let's see the summary, employee.data. Yeah. Okay, what does this tell us? It gives us yung 6-number summary. So employee ID, nandiyan yung minimum niya. Okay. All right. Of course, this does not have any meaning kasi employee ID to, no? So we will not really, if we're going to analyze this, walang meaning tong employee ID na minimum value, maximum value. Notice, guys, yung character, yung employee name, of course, hindi mako-compute yung 6-number summary niyan kasi character to eh. But it does tell us that the class is character, the mode is character. Ito yung may meaning, no? Sa salary, yung minimum value, maximum value. Okay? And then median, mean, we notice that medyo hindi siya normally distributed. No? Median is to the right of the mean. So ibig sabihin, medyo skewed to the left ng data na to. So maraming data na to the left of the mean. Okay, and then this one, start date, of course, wala ring meaning itong mga to. Okay, if you want to get the class ng employee.data, let's see kung ano yung class itong $sign, okay? So notice, guys, define ko yung employee.data, and then if I put the $sign, ibig sabihin R recognizes that you want to access the column name or the variable. So let me choose start date. Yan. So what's this code? We're asking R to get the class of the object, the data frame employee.data, and specifically the variable start date. Okay, tingnan nyo, guys, date, no? Date to. Hindi siya character. Okay? And of course, you can do the same for the rest. Ito, for example, class. Okay, and then ano pa gusto nyo tuloy natin? How about yung diba, pag $sign ko to, lalabas automatically yung, let's say, employee ID, and it's a numeric. Of course, guys, employee ID, pwede siyang gawing character lang or not so much of a factor. Pero let's leave that as is na muna. So we do not do statistical analysis with the ID anyway. Okay? So let's have another example unless you have any questions. May questions ba, guys, sa data frame natin? Okay. So no questions. Okay, thank you. Now let's go to another example. So here we're creating a vector ID 1 to 200. You know that this is an integer from 1 to 200. And then here we have another object group. Okay, and then we are concatenating Okay. Number one, rep. Rep is repeat. Okay. What are we repeating? Yung character na vehicle, and then how many times? 100. Okay, so the rep function will repeat a particular object or a particular data. Ito, vehicle, 100 times. Tapos ito naman, again, another rep, drug, 100 times. Okay, so all in all, 200 to. No? The same as the ID here, 200. And then another object, response, ano laman niya? So this is a random number, 100. Yung isa, mean of 25, standard deviation of 5. And then another one, R norm ulit, 100, the mean 23, standard deviation 5. Okay, so let's, so that we have the same, same data, mag-set that sheet ulit tayo. So, okay, anyway, 268. Any number naman. Okay, we will need this if we want to have the same numbers for your R norm. Kasi ito yung ano dito. Ito yung random dito. Okay, and then we create an object, my data. Okay, ito guys, data frame, di ba? Data frame. Okay, take a look at the syntax. Patient is equal to ID. Okay, ibig sabihin nito guys, yung ID na vector, gusto nating bigyan ng pangalan yun na patient. Okay, and then yung group, okay, gagawin natin treatment, and then yung response, gagawin natin big capital R. Kung if we don't do that guys, kung ilalagay lang natin ID and then group and then response, then you will have a data frame where the name of the columns are ito, ID, group, and response. So this is just to indicate if you want to change, no? If you want to change the name, the column name, then you can do this. Or kung gusto nyo, diretso na dito, ilagay nyo ng patient dito. Dito treatment na lang. Dito response na lang. Okay? Either way guys, you'll generate the same results. Okay, so let's run this. Ito na muna. Okay. Sige. So magiging malaki ito, no? There. Okay, first generated yung ID. Alam naman natin yung ID dyan will be just 1 up to si ID, 1 up to ano lang? 1 up to 200. Ito yan, no? Very simple. 1 up to 200. And then si group, guys, ito, you can see here, vehicle, 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 inulit. Kasi yung rep function nga, no? Character to. Ilang beses yan? 100 times yan. And we can see that, no? So 97, 98, 99, 100. And then yung drug, diba? Drug, okay? Another 100 times, kaya sa numbering dito 200 na siya. Okay, so 200 elements yung vector na yan na pinagsama, no? Okay, yung response. Okay, and then yung yung patient pala yan. Treatment. And then we have the response. Okay? So 100 na ang mean 25 at standard deviation of 5. Okay, I'll expect that we have the same answers here. Okay? And then another 100 na ang mean 23 and standard deviation is equal to 5. So all in all, 200 observations there. And then lastly, we created the data frame. No? Data.frame. Yeah. And then you notice guys, ito na yung ano natin. Ito na yung pangalan ng mga variables natin. Patient, treatment, and then response. Okay, so this is a data frame consisting of 200 observations and 3 columns. Patient, treatment, and response. There, 200 observations. Okay, and that, ano pangalan ng we call it my data. My data. And my data is here. Ito. My data. 200 observations. And kapag data frame, guys, pwede natin tinan to. No? Let's take a look at that spreadsheet and then it will generate that spreadsheet. Yan. 200 entries. Okay, so that's a data frame. Yung list naman, guys, tingnan nyo to. My list, di ba? Yung capital L. If I click this, okay, tingnan nyo to. Yan, it's my list. No? So ito yung mga elements niya. So it's not the same as a data frame. Okay, any questions, guys? Any questions so far? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Good. Good. Okay, salamat sa feedback. No? Okay, now I think I haven't discussed yung head, no? Okay, ito pare-pareho tayo, nag-set that seed tayo, no? So if we run head my data, it will give us the first 6 elements. Okay, yan ang default niya. If you want to see just the first 6 elements, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 vehicle, and then these are the responses. Okay, ang default niya 6. Of course, you can, if you want to get the first 15, pwede rin yan, lalagay yun yung number. Yan. So first 15 yan, no? Or if you want to get the last 12, use the tail. Here, guys, tail. So these are the last 12 observations. All right. Now, ano yung dimension ng my data? Dimension, guys, data frame to, di ba? So, ano yung dimension? 200 rows and 3 columns. Kasi dinidefine niya yung rectangular mix. Unlike yung length or dimension ng mga vectors, kung ilang elements lang, ito rows by columns. Okay, then yung structure, tingnan natin ha. Ano yung structure ng my data? Yan. It will tell us that this is a data frame with 200 observations and 3 variables. Andiyan yung, guys, yung dollar patient, dollar treatment, dollar response. This indicate that these are the variables, columns. So this is an integer, this is a character, and this is a numerical vector. And lastly, guys, summary. We have done this in the past. No? Summary, depende kung yung data numerical, okay? Yung patient, this is patient ID. Of course, walang meaning to kasi hindi naman natin kinukuha yung statistical ID, statistical 6-number summary niya, but automatically R still does that kasi numeric siya. Numeric siya. Pag ginawa natin factor yan, wala na magiging 6-number summary. Yung response meron, guys, kasi numeric yan. Okay. All right. Now, this is very important, yung subsetting. For a data frame, if we subset, we always have to define yung rows and columns. For example, ito, my data, 1, 2. So we just want to get the, sige, ira natin lahat. Hey, sorry. Ito lang, gusto ko i-run muna. Okay, mahaba pa rin. Sige, isa na lang muna para makita natin kagad. Okay, so what will this give us, guys? My data, okay, row 1 and second column. So what can we find in row 1, second column? Ito. Okay guys, ano makikita natin dyan? If we go to my data here, Row 1, row 1, second column. Di ba vehicle siya? Diba? Yun, vehicle. Kaya ang sinabi niya sa akin, vehicle. Row 1, second column. Same guys, if it's row 2, column 3. So 25.121, row 2, row 1, row 2, column 3, 1, 2, 3. So it's this one, 25.123 there. Okay, so we're able to access specific elements of a data frame. How about this, guys? Row 1 to 20, and then 2, columns 2 to 3. So if I take a look at this, row 1 to 20, so 20 rows ang kasama, di ba? And then columns 2 to 3, so ang kasama lang si treatment at saka si response. No? Ay, naglagay ba ako ng, wait ha? Bakit may age ako dun? May data. Bakit may age ako dito? Did I run this with them? Okay. Naran ko kasi guys naran ko lahat to. No? Naglagay ako ng age. Anyway, sige. Let's proceed first. Okay. I accidentally ran everything. And then dito kasi may nagdagdag tayo ng another column, yung age. Anyway, let's ignore that first. Okay, so we know what this will yield to us, no? Yung second and third column, yan. Ito yan, no? Rows 1 to 20 and then second and third columns. Okay, ito naman guys, my data 1 to 20. If we don't identify the columns, it means that it will include everything, all the columns. Okay, so 1 to 20. Okay, hanggang row 20, and then it will include all the all the columns. Okay. So how about this, guys? Ito, hindi sinama kung ano yung rows, ibig sabihin lahat ng rows yan. Pero ang ibibigay lang yung column number 3. Column number 3 is 1, 2, 3, yung response. So it will give us a okay, so lahat lang yan guys, lahat lang ng yan. Lahat lang ng column number 3. So, vector lang yan ng response, no? Okay, which is the same as my data and then yung column name ng column or my data $response. So all of this will give us the same answers, which is the third column and all the rows. So row 1 hanggang 200 and then column 3. Okay, then we can do subsetting here. Tingnan nyo to, no? Let me delete this one. Okay. Here guys, sinasabi natin na gusto natin sa my data, subset natin yung response, no? Na dapat greater than 26 lang. And then include all the columns. Okay? Include all the columns. So we run this. Okay, so dito lahat lang guys na yung response is greater than 26. Take a look at this. You notice guys that it will only include all the responses that are greater than 26. So you can see that in the number and ID 1, 3, 8, 9. Okay. So only those whose responses are greater than 26. Okay, so this is how we code it. About this guys, yung treatment daw dapat vehicle lang and dapat yung response greater than 23. So you can see here guys that my data treatment is equal to vehicle. Notice how the double equal to is used here. That's used for subsetting, no? And ibig sabihin ng and guys, dapat both conditions have to be met. Dapat vehicle lang at saka dapat less than 23 yung response. Tapos isasama lahat ng lahat ng columns. No? Okay, so let's run this. So what do we see here? Number 1, dapat lahat vehicle lang. Okay, wala dapat tayong makikita na drug, no? So vehicle lang lahat, and at the same time dapat less than 23 lang. Less than 23 lang. So both conditions have to be met. Okay. On the other hand, ito guys, ito iba naman to, no? Ito or. Ano ibig sabihin ng or, guys? At least one of those have to be met. So pag sinabing vehicle or ito lahat ng vehicle kasama. Okay? Tapos lahat ng greater than 21 kasama din. So if we run this, yeah. So ngayon, if you notice guys, may vehicle tayo. Okay, lahat ng vehicle kasama yung 100. Pero may kasama ding drug. Bakit kasama yung drug? Kasi take a look at the other condition, dapat greater than 21. Sa vehicle guys, it doesn't matter kung greater than 21. Ito, may 18 dito. Diba? So take a look at that, may 18 siya. That's okay guys kasi ang ginamit natin yung or. Ito. Okay, yung slash, no? Or, so any conditions that will be met. Okay lang. How about this? Take a look at this guys, not equal to vehicle. Okay? So ibig sabihin nito, not equal to vehicle, di dapat lahat ng drug kasama. Okay? Pero may masasama pa rin bang vehicle? Yes, kasi may or tayo dito. So number 1, not equal to vehicle. So that means tanggal na lahat ng vehicle for this particular condition. Pero meron tayong or. Greater than 24, ibig sabihin, basta greater than 24, vehicle or drug, isasama yan. So, sige, i-run natin dito. If you notice, guys, yeah, may vehicle pa rin. May vehicle siya, pero lahat ng vehicle yung greater than 24. And then lahat ng drug kasama. Yan, lahat ng drug kasama kasi it complies with this requirement na not equal to vehicle. Okay? All right. So dito, ito yung kanina, no, nagdagdag tayo ng ano, we can add another column. No? Ito kaso ginamit natin yung R norm, so magkakaroon dito ng negative. So for age, medyo hindi magandang gamitin yan, no? Siguro, let's just hashtag natin to. Parang comment lang siya. And then baguhin natin. Ano magandang gamitin natin guys for age? Ano ba mga pwedeng gamitin natin? Anong function yung natutunan natin guys? Na R norm kasi may decimal place yan. Run if may decimal din. Okay. You recall guys kung ano yung pwede? Okay. Remember sample? Naalala itong sample. No? Ano yung syntax ng sample? Yung X. Ano yung X? So, pwedeng sabihin natin, kasi employment to, sabihin natin from 18 up to sabihin natin 65 kunyari, no? Okay. And then how many? Size 200. Okay. And then comma. Replace is equal to what? Anyone? Guys, please. Replace is equal to what? True or false? Okay, chat please. What do you think? Replace is equal to what? False. Pag false, ibig sabihin nun, pag napili na isang number, hindi na pwede mo ulit. Pwede kaya sa ano natin, sa mga patient natin, may pare-parehong age. Guys? Oo, yes. So, true dapat, no? Kasi kunyari si patient 194, pwede ba siyang, ang age niya 50, Tapos si 195, 50 din yung age niya? Yes. So replace is equal to true ito. Ibig sabihin ng replace is equal to true, remember the illustration that I gave you? Parang may bowl ka, tapos may ping pong balls on may mga numbers, no? Ano yung mga numbers yan? 18 to 65. Tapos magda-draw out ka lang, no? Kung nakuha mo 18, ibabalik mo siya kasi pwede mo ulit siya makuha. Alright? So nag-create tayo ng age na object. Ito. Notice guys, may age na tayo kanina dito, no? May age tayo yung R norm to. Kaso ang problema ng R norm, pwede magka-negative. So hindi naman pa pwede magka-negative na age, no? So gamitin natin yung sample para ito, ibig sabihin ito, limited lang siya either from 18 to 65. Okay, enter. Alright. So if you take a look at ano nangyayari, saan yun? Ay, kulang ako ng ano. Kulang ako ng, sorry. Kulang ako ng parenthesis. Kaya nag-X siya dito. If you see something like that, guys, ibig sabihin something's wrong with your code. May kulang, either may maling, instead of comma, nagawa yung dot. Enter. So, if you print yan, okay. Saan si age? Hindi siya printing. Dapat printing siya. No? Kasi nag-open and close parenthesis ako. Let me repeat. Okay, ba't hindi siya nag-run dito? Nagpa-plus pa rin siya dito. Ibig sabihin, may kulang pa ako. May kulang pa. Ano na ba yung age ko? Pareho pa rin. Okay. Age. Sample siya. We're using a sample from 18 to 65, 200. Replace is equal to 2. Okay, bakit? Error in... May error daw ako. Ano yung error ko dito? Unexpected. Which is what? In parenthesis. Ayan, okay. Ba't kaya? Space, baka may space ako kanina dito. Okay, anyway, nag-run na siya, no? Ayan. Ayan, this is already a random. Okay, now, pareho tayo guys ng ano? Pareho tayo ng numbers. I don't think so, no? I don't think so kasi hindi tayo nag-set that C dito sa age. Okay, we independently run this. Anyway, kung hindi tayo magkakapareho, ang importante guys yung subsetting. So, I can now add, guys, and this is the lesson on how to add a variable sa data frame natin. So, I'm using the object, our data frame, my data, and then I'm attaching a name to it, age. Okay, and then I'm including a column with the variable name age. Tapos si age, galing siya sa vector na age. Okay, so let's run this. Okay, now so let's if I take a look at saan tayo. Kung titingnan mo guys yung my data, andito siya. You see my data. Yan. Okay. Ito na yung age guys. No? Tapos wala na siyang negative. Okay. So meron na tayong panibagong vector. So that's how guys okay, thank you. That's how you introduce another variable to a data frame. Okay. So madali lang mag-introduce ng variable sa isang data frame. Okay, so pinalitan natin kanina R-norm kasi hindi siya tama. Dito ano lang, head lang, first six elements ng data frame natin. Okay, next we have any questions guys sa data frame? Okay, chat naman please kung clear so far. Okay, thank you. Wala lang nagre-respond. Yung iba, guys, I hope to see more responses. Sana makakalahati mo lang tayo or 70%. Thank you. Okay, only 9 out of, okay, good. Good. 12 out of my 21 students. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. Salamat. Appreciate ko yung ano nyo, yung feedback. Kasi ayoko yung guys, yung tuloy lang ako ng tuloy na nagsasalita dito, yung pala hindi yun ako naiintindihan, no? So I want us to understand what we're going through. No? And then guys, please, advisable talaga na tingnan nyo to sa outside this classroom, i-review nyo, no? Kasi that's the only way for us to get a degree of competence or mastery sa isang skill na bago. Okay, I know that almost 100% of you have not used R before, and I tell you guys the payback in learning this skill. You can never guys. I don't think you can quantify it kasi magagamit ito sa research paper nyo later on. Tapos later on din magagamit ito sa thesis nyo. Tapos later on magagamit ito sa work nito kasi ginagamit na talaga ito. Okay. Now, date object, ito isa sa pinaka-importante. No? So here we're creating an object X, tapos character siya, di ba? If you check this, okay, character yung ano na to, yung date na to. Now, sometimes it's important kasi sa finance, marami tayong time series data. Okay? Ito nga pala guys, this is what we call a cross-sectional data. Okay? Cross-sectional data means you have several individuals or several units taken at one point in time. On the other hand, a time series data is you're referring to one individual or one unit taken at several points in time. Kunyari, Philippines, GDP. So if you're taking a look at the GDP of the Philippines from 1970 to 2021, that's an example of a time series data. Okay? Whether it's GDP, GNP, unemployment rate, inflation, interest rate, etc., that is a time series data. Ano yung characteristic ng time series data? Isang unit, isang individual, and then data of which is taken across several time frames. From 1970 to 2021, okay, several time frames yun. Anong tinitingnan natin? Philippines data, Philippine GNP, GDP, etc. So that's what we call a time series. No? If you're taking a look at several units, ito, several patients to, no? Pero all at one specific point in time, that's what we call a cross-sectional data. Okay, cross-sectional data versus time series data. Okay. Now, in this subject, hindi pa natin masyadong titinan to. Panay cross-sectional pa lang tayo. Maybe a few examples of time series, but this time series is more the subject of your next subject in FINSTAD, time series analysis. All right. So, one of the most powerful package in as far as time series is concerned, marami siya, no? Pero isa yung lubricate. Meron pang XTS, so several packages, si lubricate. So make sure that you install this first. Okay, install that packages, do that please now. Install that, and hindi ko na i-install siya, i-require ko na siya, library lubricate. Okay, so that means it's ready. And if you want to know more about this lubricate, and guys, lubricate provides tools that make it easier to parse and manipulate dates. These tools are grouped below by common purpose. Okay, so lubricate, actually maraming ng guys, maraming packages that is very helpful as far as time series is concerned. No? Meron isa XTS. Okay, this is also another very important package. Yan, create or test from XTS time series object. XTS means extensible time series. Okay, so hindi pa natin titingnan yan, but if you're interested, you can take a look at examples here. May mga examples naman dito kung paano mag-create ng isang XTS or extensible time series object. Okay, lubridate actually, guys, is already it forms part of the tidyverse package. Sige nga, guys, paki-install nga. Kindly install the tidyverse package. Install that packages. Oops. And then tidyverse. Okay, I'll give you a few minutes to install this. Medyo matagal to, ng konti lang, kasi may mga ano yan, may mga kasamang mga packages, hindi lang siya isa. Okay, so kindly install this, guys, yung tidyverse then, and please chat if you're done installing it. Pagkatapos yun sa pag-install, guys, kailangan yung kailangan i-library siya. Library. Tidyverse. And when you're done, guys, okay, kindly chat, please, if you're done. Thank you, Angel. Thank you. The rest, please. Sid, thank you. I hope the others are able to install and load the package. Luigi, Vicky, salamat. Okay, Jarod, good. Okay, Aryan, John, yan, dumami na. Gab, RJ, okay. Salamat, guys, ha. Salamat. Sorry, I won't be able to mention all of you, no? But thank you for those who are participating. Maraming salamat. Okay. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Okay, so ano yung laman ng tidyverse, guys? Tidyverse is a package. However, it's also a family of packages. Sige, tingnan natin. Tidyverse, tidyverse underscore, yan, to. Tidyverse underscore, and then you'll see this packages, no? Tab. I-run natin yan. Yan, okay? Yan. So if you take a look at sa console natin, di ba? Yan, no? Oops. Yan, ang daming laman ng packages na ng tidyverse. Okay, andyan si ggplot2, which we're going to use next meeting. Pati dplyr, dplyr, broom, gagamitin din natin to. Okay, ito si lubridate, di ba? Lubridate is here. Mag-greet R, dito nang galing, guys, yung assignment operate. Hindi, yung ano pala, iba pa, hindi pa natin na-discuss to. And some other packages. So malaki, guys, yung yung tidyverse package. Kasama lang dun si lubridate. Okay, may mga packages, guys, na kailangan pag download mo na pag require mo na if you have a required tidyverse, then automatically available na yung mga packages na yun ng iba. Kaso may mga package din na even if you have installed tidyverse and required it, kailangan mo pa rin i-load yung other packages like broom, no? Si broom yung unang-una doon. Pag linoad mo na si tidyverse, kailangan mo pa rin siyang i-load bago mo ma-access. Okay. Balik na tayo sa example natin. Okay, so character yung natin, X, di ba? So re-require na natin si lubridate. Okay, so for this one, okay, kasi may different forms of writing a date, no? So una yung MDY, month, date, year. Okay, so we're creating an object, x.date, okay, and then MDY siya ni x. Remember guys, si x is a vector, di ba? Character vector yan. Yan. Pero since it has the date form, yan, no? Month, tapos date, tapos year, we can convert this into a date using MDY. This is coming from lubridate. Actually, yung full ano yan guys. Okay, sometimes you will see this. Okay, lubridate and then 2 colons and then MDY. Ibig sabihin guys, yung MDY na yan galing sa lubridate function. So sometimes it's useful to do this guys para alam nyo kung saan nanggaling tong function na to. Okay, just to check. Question mark MDY. Okay. Control enter. Yan, tingnan nyo guys. YMD, MDY galing sa lubridate function. Okay, so let's run this. Let's run this. Enter. All right. So what do we have now? We have now an object. To, ayan, 2013-06, etc. And it is a date. Date class siya. No? Saan yan? Ito. Yan. And where does that object fall under? Yan. Dito siya sa vector, no? Because it's a vector of dates. Okay, so may iba pang ano, may iba pang may iba pang functions. Kunyari, birthday. What if your birthday is DMY? No? So this is your D, date. This is your M, month, and this is your year. Okay, so B-day. Let's run that. Okay, so may B-day tayo 1979. 10-14. Take note guys, pag print ni R, ang laging default niya, year, date, month. Okay, although sinabi natin na MDY yun, no? Or DMY. Okay, ito ginamit natin because yung paglagay natin ng data natin, ng character is day, month, and then year. But when we print this out, yung B-day na to, ang default ni R, ipiprint na muna yung year, tapos yung month, and then the day. But it's a date. Ang class niya, date. Okay, so what about this, guys? What about this? Ano yung function na to? There's this function called month. Month ng birthday. So kung ibibigay sa atin yan, as expectedly, that should be 10. Yan, 10. Kasi ang sabi natin, ano yung month ng object ng birthday? Yan, October. Ano naman yung weekday nito? Weekday, B-day, label is equal to true. Let's run this. Okay, so ang sinasabi sa atin, yung October 14, 1979, that was a Sunday. And then dinefine sa atin yung mga levels, no? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, hanggang Saturday. Yun yung mga labels na ginagamit niya. Okay, how about this, guys? Run natin itong dalawa. Okay, so we can see here, year ng birthday, 2016. Kasi sabi natin, gawing 2016 yung ano, di ba? Yung year ng birthday. Ibig sabihin yan, guys, if we print birthday now, B-day, okay, ginawa na niya 2016 kasi pinapalitan natin, di ba? Remember, we have this object B-day, tapos ang year niya 1979. Tapos dito ginawa natin, guys, yung year, sabi natin year of the birthday should be 2016. Okay, so naging 2016 na nga siya. Okay, so ano yung weekday nito? Just like above. So it's now a Friday. Nagbago, no? Kasi kanina yung 1979 ang weekday niyan Friday. Okay. Okay, some more examples, guys. Just for us to be comfortable with the use of dates also. YMD, no? Year, month, date. So dito, year, month, and then the day. I-run natin to. Okay. Okay, so this guys is a Kunyari, gawin natin itong y1. Okay, this object y1. y1. Hindi natin print. y1. Class y1. So let's print y1 and the class of y1. Okay, so y1 is 2010, 12, 15. Kasi yun indicate natin and it's a date. No? Again guys, pag print ni R, makikita nyo na may default print siya. Year muna, tapos month, tapos day. Okay, and then what will this give us? YDM. Yes. YDM. Ano po na ako dito? YDM ng Y1. Okay, dali YDM, year, day, month. Ano bang binibigay nito? Minsan guys, pag nakakalimutan ko yung function, ano? Ito lagi yung tulong ko, no? Yan. This is always the Bible, no, that I use. So YDM, YMD, YMD, YDM. Then you have here the syntax. YDM. Example ba dito sa ilalim? Sometimes guys, yung explanation can be quite it can be quite not easy to understand. Ito, ginawa niya. YMD, YDM. So X, you have this. YMD of X. Okay, hindi useful yung example na dito. Okay, Y, year, date, month. If I run this, wala kasi nakalagay na no? So, lagyan natin ng YDM, year, 2015, day, 25. Let me see what happens here. Yeah, okay. I failed to identify the date. So YDM, year is 2015. The date is 25. The month is 12. But then, again, guys, pag print niya to, ang default printing niya is year, month, at saka date. Pero naintindihan niya yung no? Naintindihan niya yung function na to. Okay, naintindihan niya yung date na to. Okay, ito na mga MDY and HMS, it will also give us the hours and the minutes. No? Tapos yung now naman, what will this give us? Yan. It will give us a date today, March 30, 2022, and ang time 10:39:24. 10:39:24. Yung time ko ng computer ko. No? May CST dito. This has something to do with the time zone. I'm not sure about central. Let me check this first. Yung CST na to. Okay, but that's a time zone. Okay, questions, guys? Okay, no questions? All right. So, it's almost time. Ganito, no? Okay. Matrix, no? Matrix, guys. Mag-ano lang ako, I'm going to generate a short video about this. Pero, guys, let's start doing this. May time pa naman tayo. So, what's a matrix, guys? A matrix is diba? It's an array form of numbers, no? And usually, naka-define yung number of rows and number of columns. So, how do you create a matrix in R? So, you use the matrix function. You write the data, number of columns, number of rows, and then by row. Okay, take note, guys, that the default in a matrix in R, the default is you fill up by column. Okay? You fill up by column unless you say by row is equal to true. Okay, let's give an example. Ito, we're creating an object A and again, nagamit natin dito yung matrix function. Ano laman niya? 2, 3, negative 2, 1, 2, 2. Number of rows is 3. Number of columns is 2. Yan. Okay, so let's run this. Paano i-generate ni ano to, ni R? Okay, take a look at this. This is row 1. Okay, row 1, row 2, row 3. This is column 1, column 2. Okay. Kaya ano ibig sabihin itong 1 and then comma, walang laman dito. Remember, pag walang laman dito, ibig sabihin the whole, including the whole column, yung dalawang columns. So row 1, comma, blank, it's equal to 2 and 1, yung buong to. Okay, ito naman, comma 1, which means it means that you're identifying just the first column and all the rows. So ang all the rows ito 2, 3, negative 2. Okay, so how did R fill up the column? Tingnan nyo guys, no? Sabi natin 3 rows and 2 columns. So 3 rows nga, 1, 2, 3 and 2 columns, 1, 2. Pero ang default niya, paano niya fill up yung matrix? How was it done? It was done by columns. No? Paano? Pababa, 2, 3, negative 2, and then 1, 2, 2. That's the default, guys. The default is that R will always fill up by column. Ito yung sinasabi dito. Ito, guys. Default is filled by column unless isama natin by row is equal to true. If you include that function, sige, gawin natin dito. Copy natin to. Control C, Control V. Okay, let's call this A1. Yung mga A1 dito. A1, and then I want it to be filled. Okay, I want it to be filled row-wise. No? So lalagay natin dito by row is equal to 2. Yeah. So let's see this object. Okay, run natin pareho na lang. These two, A and A1. Ay, wait. So one gun. Ito. Wala dapat. Okay. There. A1, 1, 2. Matrix. Ano ko lang pa isa. Kasi yung matrix, yung buong to. Tapos yung to print this. Column, enter. Okay, tingnan nyo guys, no? Ito, fill up 2, 3, negative 2, 1, 2, 2. Ito naman yung by row, 2, 3, negative 2, 1, 2, 2. So you see the difference between filling up by rows or filling up by columns. Ang default, guys, if you want it to be filled up by rows, dapat you will have to include this qualifier by row is equal to true. Otherwise, i-default na laging by column. Okay, is that matrix A? We're asking if this is a matrix. So true, matrix siya. Is it a vector? False, hindi siya vector. And then ano yung dimension ni A? Yan, 3 by 2. Okay, there, it's already time, no? So, paki-ano lang guys, pakitingnan na lang to. It's just a review of your high school algebra or college algebra. Kung hindi pa kayo nagka-matrix guys, may matrix operations, kindly do some research na lang on how to add matrices, okay, and how to multiply matrices. Ito very important tong matrix multiplication and how it's being performed in R. Okay, so transpose of a matrix, examples of matrices, okay, identity matrix, symmetric matrix, etc. Inverse of a matrix. So this is actually more of a review of your high school algebra. or even in college, palagi ko, kinuha niyo ulit to. Quick chat nga lang guys. Did you have matrix algebra nung high school or nung college? I'll appreciate your feedback, please. Okay. Yes. I guess, yeah. I guess, kasi part ng, ano yun eh, part ng, yeah, yes, college. Okay. So, this will just be more of a review for you. Ang gusto lang natin dito, paano mag-multiply ng matrix sa ano, sa R. Paano kunin yung determinant. Okay, ito yun, no? Yan yung function na to. Okay, so kindly review this. Now, next meeting, guys, we will not go into this anymore. No? So, we will not, I will hold you responsible to learning how to use R for matrices. Kasi next meeting, we'll already start with GG plot. Okay, let me stop recording already.